It's gutsy. A gutty win for your Phoenix Suns on Tuesday evening when they played the Portland Trailblazers on the second night of a back-to-back. After losing last night to the Los Angeles Clippers in Los Angeles in what they call it the crypto.com arena or whatever it is, Matthew. They lost last night. They go up to the Moda Center tonight, and they win in overtime, the first overtime game that we've had this year for the Phoenix Suns. And when Van Gundy said that on the broadcast, I thought that can't be right, but it was, I guess.
Oh, that's crazy. I remember when overtimes were a nightmare for the Suns. We would lose every overtime game. But now I'm like, if we could just get there, we'll win it. That's how confident I am in them winning in these overtime games, especially when Chris Paul takes over. Just needs 2 points. You're going to let the Suns get 2 points? He'll get 2 points.
Yeah, he'll do it all day long. You let him cook from that mid-range, dude. That's where CP3 loves to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some fried eggs in a cast iron pan. He'll just cook it up all day right there if you let him. And that's essentially what he did in clutch time moments and in the overtime, eventually leading this team to a victory in a very interesting game in Portland. So definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to this game. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Suns Jam Session podcast. John and Matthew. Jam, I'm John. He's Matthew, and we're here to talk about, once again, the Phoenix Suns beating the Portland Trailblazers and now winning their 22nd game out of 27 attempts this year. Are they 22-5 or 22-6 now? I don't even know.
26-5? Yeah.
22-6.
No, I'm sorry. It's 5.
Okay.
Five.
I don't know. I know there's a lot more wins than there are losses right now. But this is a reminder to everyone who is listening. If you are listening to this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. I don't care if it's Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. Wherever you get it, please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're watching along live with us, we appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up button down below. Please subscribe. We're so close to 2,000 subscribers.
Yes.
It only happens if you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to go a step further, you can hit that little bell notification as well. That'll notify you whenever we go live, which is after every Phoenix Suns game. It doesn't matter what city I'm in. I'm here to do the podcast. And Matthew, you're always in Phoenix, so I mean, it's not even that hard for you, is it?
Yeah, my thing is if I'm sick or not. How boring is that, huh?
Yeah. Deep-voiced Matthew when he's all sick and everything.
A little bit deep. Not as deep as I wanted to be, but it's kind of sexy. I don't know. It's a little sexy. Let me know, Jamsters, how sexy it is.
Little raspy, if you will. So, but again, plenty to talk about on this game. Matthew, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better yet? You still in sick mode?
Yeah. No. I feel pretty good today. I rested up, took today off from work. I should be back at it tomorrow. It sucks being sick. It's probably the worst thing ever. You just get really down in the dumps and you can't wait to get back out there. You're like, I might, harm myself in some kind of way. And then tomorrow is going to be a better day. So I can't wait for tomorrow.
Well, good. It's nice to have you back. I could definitely tell you have a little bit more pep in your step and a little bit more baritone in your voice. No, you don't. You have less baritone actually, and it's less sexy. But we'll take what we can get from you. So let's pop them if we got them. What are you rocking tonight, Matthew?
Yeah. No, I actually did get something. Jeez,
it's not even that funny.
No,
it's a John, regular beer.
No. You're funny, John. The shoots. You got anything? Yeah, the shoots. Yeah.
Well, no. What I brought just in case, because I didn't know if you were sick or not. Because although we record a podcast together, it's not like we're always texting each other and calling each other. Like, hey, morning, Matthew. How you feeling today, bud? I don't talk to you until literally we get in the podcast. The game ends. We get into the pregame, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" You're like, "Hey," and I just click go live, and I get ready. I mean, that's just how we go. So, in case you didn't have anything, I do have something that I could have cracked open. I would not drink. It's a Monster Zero Ultra energy drink.
Okay.
I was just gonna pop it for the sound effect, but I wasn't gonna drink.
Okay.
It. But seeing as you,
let me just pop mine.
How about you pop open a beer and let's talk about this victory over the Portland Trailblazers. Oh, yeah. Crisp, baby. Hazy IPAs. big victory for your Phoenix Suns as they defeat the Portland Trailblazers by a final score of 111 to 107. But
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, and I'm going to go right to the end of the game on this one. Where the hell was Mikal Bridges in like the last 5 minutes and for the majority of the overtime period? They substituted him in a little bit, but I don't know if maybe you saw something or.
No, I didn't see.
Where was
I
Mikal?
mean, I saw Mikal on the floor a few times during the game and looked like he kind of hurt himself. I mean, I think bodies were all over the floor, but he was one of them in particular. I don't know if it was something to do with that, but honestly, he was kind of missing the whole game from the offensive side. He did hit 2 big threes to start the second half, but I don't know. He's not really someone you want in there when you needed some offense, right? So, is it a big deal to you? I did not notice him really the whole game, so him not playing the last 5 minutes of the game was not anything I really noticed at all.
Well, I noticed it because, Dame Lillard is a unique NBA talent, and he ended the night on 30 with 31 points on 31 shot attempts. And a lot of that was Mikal playing defense on him, and I felt for the most part he was doing a good job. Dame Lillard does what Dame Lillard does. He launches 3-pointers at an alarming rate. And if he played for me at times, I think I'd be really frustrated because in that overtime, the Suns go up by 2 points. He dribbles down and he takes like a 30-footer. And like if that was Devin Booker doing that, I'd be pissed, man.
Yeah.
And Damian Lillard, 5 for 16 from deep. And, again, you can't really necessarily credit Mikal's job in pushing him out to the perimeter because Dame Lillard has an affinity to already shoot like that. But I feel like he played some really effective defense kind of throughout this game. And I was just a little bit surprised that he wasn't in those critical moments for the most part. Again, he checked in with like 40 seconds left in the game. He checked in a couple times in overtime. I just hope everything's okay with Mikal.
I think he's fine. I think when you got guys rolling like Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder was playing, he was pretty smooth tonight. Not that he was like, his box score wasn't crazy, but he just looked better with Cameron Johnson there. So I think having them, and then when Ayton's coming back in, he had to play like the whole fourth quarter. They look good as a group together. So I don't think you have to put Mikal in that situation to where you need to put him in those minutes, especially if you need some offense.
Yeah, I mean, valid points for sure. And again,
Sure.
I think that, yeah. Dude, that hat looks so nice. I'm sorry. I hate to break.
Oh, it looks good, yeah.
That's a good looking hat you got there, man. Just sports, right? That's where you got it?
Just sports, yeah. John hooked me up a little couple gifts.
Hey,
right?
You know what? Those weren't gifts. That's because we work for the Suns Jam Session podcast. So I know it's early on, but we'll drop a promo.
The Suns Jam Session podcast is brought to you by Just Sports. Enter the code SUNSJAM at checkout for any of your online orders and receive 15% off of your purchase. That's right. Let them know that the Suns Jam Session guy sent you. Again, that is promo code SUNSJAM when checking out at shopjustsports.com.
Just had to remind everybody because you know what? It is Christmas season and it's a good time. They got a lot of great gear and that's a great looking hat. And I'm kind of pissed I didn't get it for myself because for those of you who are listening, it's just a black hat with a white Suns logo. But it just
that's it.
So
and my
clean.
Cowboys hat is just a black and white this year too. So
there you go. And Metal
very
Mike,
basic and dark. Yeah.
Metal Mike says it in the chat. He says that is an amazing hat, Lissy. So kudos.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Kudos to you, buddy. It was good to see the Suns score early in this game. After last night, which we both agreed was just kind of a weird vibed day, personally, and then watching that game, it was just kind of had a funk around it. And tonight, the Suns played a lot more aggressive, and the shots were falling. They scored 32 points in that first quarter tonight and held the Portland Trailblazers to 21 points. What did you see from the Suns early on that allowed them to be successful?
A lot of it was just getting out in front of the Blazers. Last night when you were hitting only 4 points within the first 6 minutes with Jay Crowder's feet on the line, he did that in the first quarter again.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
had his foot on the line. I'm like, all right, Jay, it's fine. But he had a good game the rest of the game, so it all cleared up after that. I think they just wanted to get out with some more energy, right? I mean, they had DA back in the lineup. He was phenomenal tonight. We're gonna talk about DA tonight.
Oh, I think it's happening.
Yeah. Because he
This is where
I did a pause, and then I didn't know if it was coming or not. So I
this
kept
is
going.
where we needed to do a little bit of pre-gaming because, like, the answer to why the Suns got out to a better start today was DeAndre Ayton. I was hoping you was like, "Oh, dude, it was DeAndre Ayton." I was like, all ready to hit the drop, and you're like, "Well, they kind of they wanted to be better, and then they thought they could be better, and then they decided to be better, and then they were better." And Ayton, I was like, "Oh,
Start making stuff up.
There's my chance."
Yeah.
So tell me about Da, man. Tell me what you saw, especially in that first quarter. I mean, he kind of set the tone early on.
Yeah, he definitely did. He's our hero tonight. He lost the 10
Yes.
pounds from the poop problems I think he had. Obviously, I mean, he lost 10 pounds. It had to be something to do with the poops. I'm not sure what he probably just
What
has
did you
what
call
I
him
had.
last night? The trots.
The trots.
The
Yeah.
trots.
I'm not sure what he had, but 7 out of the first 13 points for the Suns. He was involved basically every possession really early on. But even throughout the whole game, they never really went away to him too much. There was one time towards, I think it was maybe the end of the third quarter, or was it the middle? I don't remember. But they kind of try to match the Blazers with 3-point shots, and then they went back to Da. He had like the floater, the major dunk, the nice little dish to Da, or to Jay, to himself, the little dish to Jay early in the first quarter. So stuff like that, where you're just like, oh yeah, you're missing this big man that can facilitate the ball too when he wants. But he just seemed like he was in such a flow. I think there was a few games before he was sick where it just seemed like he was still lost again. And Chris Paul was still kind of explaining more things to him on the court. And I was like, what happened? Because they always had the pick and roll going this year. That just seems like it's not even an issue anymore, right? With him and Chris Paul, that pick and roll thing is really unstoppable, especially against a team like the Trailblazers, who they just could not stop it. They couldn't stop anybody from going inside, especially Da. He was very, very aggressive defensive end. You saw it towards the end of the game. He's getting the blocks when they're needed. He's getting the rebounds. He's there. He's the biggest presence on the floor when the game matters. And that's what we miss. That's what we miss from him. And that's what we got in the beginning of the game, because having him on the court, it's like he's always been Jurkic. He kills every center, right?
Yeah.
In the league. But he's a Jurkic killer. He'll just dominate a game for 6 minutes. And that's what he did in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his first quarter stats, and he ended with 3 for 3 from the field, 9 overall points, and also went 3 for 3 from the line. So he was really getting those opportunities, those and one opportunities, and putting the pressure on the Portland Trailblazers in a way that we just didn't see the previous night for the Suns against the Clippers. And that's what happens when DA's not out there. The gravity he brings, the offensive skill set that he has, again, there's possessions where I feel like he could have played better. And that's, and then I take a step back and I go, he went 12 for 17 from the field, 12 for 17, had 28 points tonight and 13 boards, a 28 and 13 burger from DeAndre Ayton. They didn't give him any blocks, although he had like 2. They gave him like 2 steals. It's like, we've talked about this before on the pod, but like when you block a guy, how's that a steal? Like if you block it and then you catch it, it's somehow a steal, not a block. I don't get it. And there was a couple possessions in the game where I was like, oh man, he rushed that shot. But then again, taking that kind of step back, you're like, this was a fantastic game from DA. Unbelievably fantastic. He came out with the right amount of energy. As you mentioned, the TNT broadcast informed us that he had lost 10 pounds during being sick with the flu. So as you referenced, having the trots is going to kind of do that to you, right? You're going to lose a little bit of weight. And it's one of those things that I was concerned about was just his energy level. What was his energy level going to look like tonight? Because, we've all been sick. And when you have to come back and if you have to perform in any capacity that is athletic after being sick, it's tough. And it might be something where he came out early and looked aggressive, but he would fade as the game would go on. And that's kind of what I was expecting. I'm like, hey, it's his first game back after being sick. He couldn't play last night, so who knows how good he's going to look. And he just sustained it all game long to the point where on probably one of the most key possessions of the game, where Chris Paul came down and hit that kind of fadeaway jumper that tied the game, that ultimately set it to overtime because the Portland Trailblazers didn't score in the next possession. DeAndre Ayton set a fantastic screen to free up Chris Paul. And I've talked about this before when I looked at when we were talking about Sticks a couple games ago. The challenge that Sticks has is being so young and not getting enough reps on the actual NBA court itself is he's so excited to slip, to set the screen and start slipping and rolling that he doesn't actually set the screen. Whereas DA knew in that moment, he's like, listen, CP3 is scoring on this play. All I have to do is set the best screen possible and not foul somebody. So holistically, throughout this entire game, DeAndre Ayton performed at an elite level. And, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm already telling you who my jam star of the game is. It's this guy right down here, Ayton. It says it on my shirt. See, 8.
Cute.
Cute. Thank you very much. Any response to anything I just said?
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the screens because even the pick and roll and the screens, those are things we used to complain about so much, and now you don't even really think about it. I mean, there's a few times on, of course, DA, like I mentioned in games before, where he seemed lost maybe, but I don't really know what that period was. But he seems to know when to set the hard screen, when the roll, when to expect the ball on the pick or on the roll part. Because Chris Paul gets it to him so fast now, to where before DA might fumble those or not even be ready for them, but he knows now when to get the ball and then when to set the screen. So I agree with you. These are just things that we used to have a hard time with him, and he's improved so much. He's almost like 100% there at just having to be part of his routine on the floor.
The other side of this is something that we questioned as we looked at this game in our preview at the end of the podcast last night, was obviously not knowing whether or not DA was going to play. But if DA wasn't going to play, like how Nurkic was going to absolutely just murder the Suns. And it just goes to show you the importance of having the likes of DeAndre Ayton out there. Now, Nurkic went 7 for 11, had 17 points and 13 rebounds. But he didn't really control the game as much as he would have, obviously, if DA wasn't in there. But the shot deterrence that DeAndre Ayton creates and the way that he, as you mentioned, like he owns the really good centers in this league, I feel. I feel the only center he doesn't truly own is Joel Embiid, right? Because Jokic, he I wouldn't say he owns him, but he plays fantastic against an MVP caliber center. You look at Yusef Nurkic, you look at Hassan Whiteside. Just kidding, Matthew. You know my affinity for Hassan Whiteside.
I would have let you get away with that one, John, just because I love him so much.
Christian Wood. God, why can't I think of any of the centers now? Domantas Sabonis. He plays well against Sabonis as well. I mean, so he really plays well against these kind of players. It's always the guys who you think that he should dominate that he has a hard time against for some reason. Maybe it's because he's just not mentally locked in. But this is big game Ayton, right? We played on TNT tonight. And as who is this right here? Westville says in the chat, the TNT broadcast actually wasn't that bad. I'm actually going to agree with that tonight. I'm normally one to really do a good old-fashioned trash job on whoever's calling the game, and it's generally the ESPN guys. I really can't stand, or if it is for TNT, it's Mark Jackson. He's on TNT, right?
No, he's ESPN, right?
Okay, that's why I hate him so much.
Yeah, he is ESPN, yeah. Yeah, he is. TNT does. Who's the guy, the sideline reporter? He was actually pretty funny. He would poke some fun at Stan Van Gundy whenever he would come in. It's just a little joke here and there. It was different from just being like really just lost for breath. Every time they come in, there was lost for breath, and they mess up words, and they don't. It's just like me on the podcast.
It's us on the podcast.
It's like just rambling along. It's like I don't know what you're talking about, but this guy was actually pretty good.
You just say yes after I'm done talking. You're just like yes.
Yes.
It's like it's at that awkward relationship where you come home and you're like, hey, honey, how was your day? Good. Okay.
Good.
Okay. I want to talk about Cameron Payne for a little bit, if that's okay with you, Matthew.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that for sure.
All right. So tell me what your thoughts were on Cameron Payne in this game and kind of overall thus far this year.
Well, this year it's just kind of up and down. I don't know. He's always had the green light with those really nasty threes when he comes down the floor, and it looks like they have a fast break and he'll just chuck up a three and miss it. Those are the things this season I don't like at all. Today he looked pretty good. It was nice to see him come in with the bench with Cam Johnson and McGee, kind of like the old Suns from like 6 games ago or so, whenever they actually had the whole bench where they can come in with these guys. And it's nice to see them all together. I'm trying to look at what his score was, 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he had that many points. But yeah, I mean, getting to the rim is just something that he's just really quick too. Let me just him and McGee trying to work on the pick and roll and stuff looked pretty good. But him and Ayton looked really, really good tonight too on the few stints that they did have. But him getting to the rim, of course, is just something that I do love. And his threes where he just chucks them up there, unless it's a catch and shoot wide open, I don't like those. So that's about it. What's up?
No, I'm with you with there, and I was struggling with Cam Payne tonight. I really was,
Oh,
because
were
you
you?
look at how
Okay.
because you look at how he performed through the first 3 quarters, and he was 2 for 8 from the field, had a couple assists, and I feel like this happens a lot with Cam Payne, and it's when he plays with the second unit, obviously, where he's the guy who should be facilitating the offense. And we've talked about that or this in the past, that it's okay that he's not necessarily a great facilitator, as long as he is productive in some aspect of the game. And generally, it is scoring. That's kind of why you bring him. He's your change of pace guy. He's the guy who comes in and he's running the point, and then he just, due to his speed, gets to the rim in a quick manner, something you don't see Chris Paul do. So it's a different look from or for the defense to look at, because if you have a slow it down facilitator like Chris Paul replace Chris Paul, it's very easy to game plan for that defensively. It's like, listen, they're always going to do, so we can start throwing some doubles at them. We know that maybe this person isn't necessarily as good as a ball handler as Chris Paul, so then we can really double them or force them into different situations. Whereas Cam Payne, he's just going to come down and attack the rim. But therein lies the challenge for me is, I'm trying to think of a witty term for him at times, but like his usage rate is just a little too high for me at times. I mean, he comes down on a possession, he reads the defense, and then he just attacks. And it's like, why are the other guys ever on the court? And I saw a lot of that in the game. Now, that being said, in the fourth quarter, he went 4 for 6 and had 9 points and also had 2 assists. And here's the difference. The majority of the fourth quarter, because Landry Dammit so fucking bad, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, it was Cam Payne who was playing the 2 with Chris Paul. And because of that, he played a completely different role. And because of that, he had more time with DeAndre. And to your point, where he was actually having some really good chemistry with DA relative to the pick and roll. So instead of being the guy who would bring the ball up and then just attack, and it was kind of a one and done possession, or it was, he would score, he would play within the confines of an offense. And then when it was his turn, I felt like he had a better chance of making it offensively, because he wasn't necessarily the focal point anymore of the offense. Because that was a challenge in the first 3 quarters. It's like, dude, everybody knows what you're going to do, and they're watching you the whole time. It's not like you're standing in the corner catching the ball and then driving to the rim. You're bringing it up and you're going, or you're bringing it up and just launching a 3 in transition. So, I mean, that's what I kind of noticed tonight, and it was really nice to see him get some of those minutes with the first team in the absence of Devin Booker, because I feel like it really allowed him to actually play his game. He's almost like a small 2 guard. You're muted, Matthew.
DA at one point in this game actually did yell at him to like, come on, go to the rim. Like, I feel like they might expect that from him. I did notice that him playing with the first team, it did look a lot better. But you kind of just want him to be that backup point guard. You want that the way he was last year, where he can just kind of help the offense, but he takes too long to make any decisions in the paint. Like, it's almost too late for him to make the right pass to McGee. He usually can get it in there if it's like an alley-oop, or if he wants to hit somebody under the basket. But it's always too late, and then sometimes it's just not a great pass. If he wants to throw it back to the 3-point line, never usually a good pass. It's just he kind of struggles in that area right now, and I don't know why. I think that's something that he needs to perfect to really have a chance to get some good, decent backup minutes for Chris Paul.
Yeah, and he'll continue to be our backup point guard. And I do like his change of pace ability and his affinity for scoring. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Cam Payne, but what I would like to see him to do what I'd like to see him do is just, again, try to facilitate a little bit more. And I've been calling for this kind of throughout the year. It's like, I'd like to see just a little bit more Cameron Payne facilitation, because again, it's going to keep the defense honest. It's going to keep that second team defense honest, because they know that it's not just going to him come down and go. Now, granted, he has developed a chemistry with JaVale McGee. We didn't get to see a lot of that tonight, clearly, because our boy Double O McGee, McGee only had 8 minutes tonight and 5 fouls, 4 points. and he still had 7 rebounds in those 8 minutes. But I mean, it was just, one of those nights where it's so funny. This is the other side of McGee, right? We talk about all these things that we love about him: his high motor, his goofiness, if you will, his hook shots, Kareem Abdul-McGee, and his jams, and the way he plays in pick and roll, and his hustle like a volleyball player trying to get that loose rebound. And the back-to-back nights, he's been in foul trouble, and this is the other side of that story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He's he's had a couple of bad games, but it's not an excuse at all for me just to say it's fine, but it kind of is fine because when you have Aiden playing this kind of a game, it's okay. I mean, we almost did lose the game, and if we would have lost, we'd be like, well, we couldn't use those McGee minutes like we got in the past. But he's been playing way too well this year to not have like the back-to-back bad games, the foul troubles and stuff like that. So I kind of expected it. The only thing I noticed really from this game is I don't know what it is that I don't know if I'm gonna go there.
What?
I can't because I just hesitate too much. If I wanted to go there, I would have just said it.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna go there.
You got in your own way. You thought about it too long, and I get what you're saying. He hasn't had those back-to-back bad games, and it almost equated to back-to-back losses for the Phoenix Suns, and it would have been an easy article to write for brightsideofthesun.com. It's like, hey, the Suns go as JaVale McGee goes, but he just wasn't in the game tonight. Some ticky-tack fouls, I would definitely say for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yusuf Nurkic got away with like 3 or 4 fouls, like called on him, like against him, if you will, and that I thought were just completely, just almost like they should be no calls. Like we talk about how much we love the NBA and how all this contact's happening to the point where Damian Lillard went down the court with an opportunity to take, to make the shot for the win. And he was so focused on trying to get a foul that he just kind of stumbled into a guy, lost the ball, and was expecting a foul. It's like, that's not how the NBA works these days. But then again, Nurkic, barely, like Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson came over and hit the ball, away from, didn't make contact with him, but it was an over the back. So
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, another guy I want to talk about.
All I can say is, Sham, wow.
He played like shit.
I was like,
man.
We're losing signal.
He played like shit. 2 for 7 overall from the field, 1 for 5 from deep, 7 overall points. But played him. I mean, he got played off the court, man. I mean, Cam Payne took all of his minutes. Cam Payne ended with 34 minutes tonight in an overtime game, but still. And Landry Dammit had 23 points. Like, get well soon, Devin Booker, because Landry Dammit just isn't it, is he?
No, I mean, we know this, right? To replace him, but he's kind of like just, I don't know where he's at or what he's doing. He's had 5 points in the first quarter, and I swear to God, I did not see him score
Again?
1 point. Did he score? No. Those 5 or the 5 points he had or whatever in the first quarter. When did he score those? I don't remember.
I can tell you when, because today, I woke up this morning in Reno, Nevada. It was snowing everywhere. It was, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. And then I got on the plane and I flew down to Phoenix, and I had a layover in Phoenix for like 10 minutes. My plane landed. I had to hustle over to the next gate and then catch it over here to Palm Springs, which is a horrible place to fly into, by the way. I mean, for anyone who lives in the Southwest, the iconic windmills in Palm Springs?
Oh, yeah.
You know why they're there?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Tell me why.
Because there's a ton of wind that's in here. So when you're trying to land a fucking plane, it does this the whole goddamn time. And then it was raining here too. But the reason I had a point here, when I landed in Phoenix for those like 10 minutes, I hopped on my phone real quick and I went to DraftKings and I made a quick bet. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet the over on Landry Dammit points tonight. He should have 11, plus 11.5. Because I felt like last night he struggled. I'm like, you know what? Not 2 games in a row for Landry. Not 2 games in a row. And he started off, and like you said, he had 5 points in the first quarter. I'm like, okay, we're on point. And then he just brick.
They're good looking shots. They're good looking shots,
but again, it's like some of the Jamsters are saying in the chat. Gary Pinkney, damn it, Shamit needs to be a segment. Coach Fallen Fander, damn it, Shamit is right. Metal Mike, damn it, Shamit definitely needs to be a segment. It's like we're gonna have to make a segment for this guy because it's just like, damn it, dude, he just can't. He can't
give it a second though. Wait till Booker comes back and see if he can maybe find
fall
himself
back into his
again.
role. But
I guess, but we don't even know what his
that's a
role
good
really
point.
was.
That's a good point. Yeah, exactly. But like, what are your thoughts on the Suns paying him before he ever even played a game for us?
I think it was crazy. Honestly, I trusted them with it, right? Didn't you? I just thought,
Of course
okay,
I did.
Shamit,
I'm like, whatever you do,
he's a
James
Monty
Jones.
guy, he's a James Jones guy. Like, he's gonna get paid, so this guy must be pretty good. There's something they know we don't know. But then he looks worse than I thought he would in a Suns uniform. He just doesn't. I don't remember preseason how good he looked. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm okay with this, but he's just missing wide open shots that he needs to make. It's like the way Cam Johnson kind of used to be, where he was just missing those shots, like wide open. Now Cam's draining those. So I don't know, man. We need Shamit to step up, but I think we just need to wait till Booker gets back and he can just play back in his role as just being the backup 2 guard. But it's basically the same thing, right? You're still on the floor. You're still getting the wide open looks from Chris Paul. You're having the best point guard, almost like one of the best point guards in NBA history, setting you up. And it's just, you can't drain him. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And if he's doing too much with the ball, like they did last game when he was trying to actually run the pick and roll and stuff like that, that's just nasty. Just stay away from that. I hope they never go back to that.
No, I agree. I mean, he needs to be. Hey.0 says it in the chat. He says Landry just needs to be a Klay Thompson type of player. And that was our expectation for him. Like, I'm not saying like full on Klay Thompson, I'm going to score 30 something points in a quarter type of player, but a come off of, 2 back screens, catch a curl and shoot a 3 and then nail it. And he's doing everything but making the shot. And I know that this is the impatient Phoenix Suns fan in me. Because I know that eventually these shots are going to go down. He's going to have a stretch, much akin to one that Jay Crowder's on right now. Jay Crowder had 11 points tonight, but he's been on this stretch recently where he's really been hitting the 3 ball with regularity and looking really good. And I know that lies ahead for Landry Dammit. And I was thinking about this tonight, and that's why I asked you the question. What do you think about the Suns paying him before he ever even played a game for us? And again, I think that it's okay. And here's why, because that contract is a very tradable asset. It's about $9 to $10 million a year, I think, and it kicks in like next year. So essentially, the Suns, sign him to his rookie extension. And when you start talking about trades, and guess what? Starting tomorrow, Landry Dammit is one of those players who has the ability to be traded. He's eligible because we traded for him, right on draft day for Javon Carter and the number 29th overall pick or whatever it was. And now he is available for trade. I'm not saying the Suns are going to trade him, but I wouldn't mind if the Suns traded him. And the only thing that's shitty is like, he hasn't put on a ton of tape that necessarily says that he's fantastic. You look at how he's shooting from 3 this year, it's 38.7%. So maybe somebody out there's like, yeah, that's the piece we need. And maybe there's another guy out there that we can go, yeah, that's the piece we need. We can use him in a trade because that contract is going to assist in bringing in another asset for a same amount of contract. And maybe it's something better than Landry Dammit. Because again, I just don't think that Landry Dammit's it. It's not it. And I want him to be it. I told you, I must have wrote 2 or 3 pieces for Bright Side of the Sun during the preseason, just talking about how hyped I was for this guy. And I think he's the perfect thing. He's exactly what we needed. Exactly what we need. A guy who can truly play the 2 guard when Devin Booker's not either available or on the court. So with Devin Booker injured, here has been Landry Dammit's opportunity to really kind of step up and show James Jones, like, hey, guess what? You made the right decision. I'm the guy that you should have faith in. And in these past few games coming into tonight, not including tonight, he's been averaging 10 points a game, 42% from 3. But tonight was just one of those nights where he just disappeared to the point where Cam Payne pretty much played the entire 4th quarter in an effort to keep him off of the court. And that's not what you want to see. Final minutes for Landry Dammit, the guy who started the 2 guard in Devin Booker's absence tonight in the 4th quarter, 0 minutes. 0 minutes, man.
And when you're going to go to him and, in such a weird start to the season where he's actually starting for the Suns, I was actually thinking, I'm like, has he ever had like this much expectations in his career? But he has. He's kind of filled the roles, like even in Brooklyn. I think there's something where he's still just kind of lost, but I think that Monty, like not like an Abdel thing, but I think that Monty does want to put a lot more effort into getting him in a rhythm. I mean, we saw it last game, but I think that he's going to keep forcing the issue with this guy. So that's why I think we need the sham it, damn it thing. I think we need to relax because there's something there. I think he can turn into a guy where it's like, okay, sham it's in. I'm actually excited to see him. I think he might be that guy in the future.
And see, this is why I like doing this podcast with you, because you're right. You're right. I'm clearly overreacting to one
No,
bad
I'm the
game.
overreactor, John.
No, but I
I'm
am on
always
this one. I
overreactor.
definitely am. And you know what? I'm reading some of the Jamsters comments, and this is a reminder: hit that thumbs up button below, hit that subscribe button. You know, if you want to become an elite Jamster, click the join button too. You know, but like Low Sun says, like he's a role player. Why do we expect more than that? And he is a serviceable role player. You know, John Carl says 10 points a game is serviceable. We just need Book back, and that's the answer. And you know, lastly, I feel like there was one more I wanted to bring up. Metal Mike says Shamit is just getting annoying lately, but I can generally be patient before I say peace. And you're right, you know, again, and I preface this with the fact that it's like, listen, he is going to go on that hot stretch where there's like 5 games where it's just like, dude, Sham, wow. And then you'll remind me, like, Matthew, remember when we played Portland overtime and all you do was you were ready to trade his ass? I'm like, you're right, and I was wrong. You're pretty, I'm not. You know, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
so,
keep going. Oh, okay.
Your hat is clearly better than mine. I don't know if it's clearly better.
Nah, no, I like your
really
hat
like
a
this
lot,
hat.
dude. Yeah,
I think it's good. It's another one of those Just Sports
good, man.
snapbacks, if you will. So, let's see. What else did I want to talk about today? The third quarter was kind of a frustrating quarter for those of you who didn't actually watch the game. You know, the Phoenix Suns were up at halftime, you know, by a score of 49-43, I think it was. And then the third quarter was just one of those quarters where the Suns, you know, couldn't get it all to couldn't get it to drop, while at the same time the crowd was behind Portland and Dame started hitting some of those, you know, crazy shots. Although I guess he only went 1 for 6 in the quarter, so it wasn't him. It was more of Robert Covington, who had 8, and Nurkic. That was his big quarter. But they outscored the Suns 32-24. They shot 5 for 10 from deep, while the Suns only shot 2 for 7 from deep. And that was really, you know, the Suns were playing catch up for the most of the game after that third quarter. Is there anything that we should be worried about that you saw in that third quarter, or was it just kind of like, hey, you know, they came out with some momentum with the crowd behind them? Anything to be worried about?
Not really. It was the ending from hell, though. It was the ending of the quarter that we always hated, when the Suns would, you know, give up the buzzer beater shot. That happened last year. Like, how many times? I don't think it's really happened this year, right?
No, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, so Covington ended the third quarter with the 8 straight points for the Blazers. He was left open twice in the corner from 3. That was worrisome. But what was worrisome maybe a little bit, we talked about McGee, how he just wasn't really involved. He wasn't able to get anything going because of foul trouble. But it was basically that from the bench. The bench was playing just like so frantic and weird and like, hurry up, we got to get this. It was like they're playing for like the last shot of the game or something. It was like, just chill out, relax. Like, don't let the Blazers back in this by passing up. Like, not passing up, by getting yourself in situations where you have to jack up nasty looking shots. You know what I mean? Just don't run the shot clock out either, but try to get some kind of flow in the offense. But they were just rushing everything and trying to make sure that they can keep that lead. And when you're doing that, all of a sudden the lead's gone. That's what happened. And it looked bad. You get the crowd going into the fourth quarter. Usually that's really bad. And for most teams, and maybe for the old Suns, that might be a loss. But then you have a player like Chris Paul, who he's the ultimate, like, I'm gonna win this game guy. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna leave this court until we win this game. So when you have that, after that kind of momentum shift, you're okay. So it's nothing really to worry about.
You know, I'm kind of disappointed in myself because after all this time, I don't have a Chris Paul drop, and he earns it every night.
We don't have a Booker one either.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, our 2 main guys, we don't even have a drop for. I'll work on that, Jamsters, and for that, I'm sorry. And I'll work on the volume. Apparently, the volume's all jacked up on these. So when you listen to these and I drop something, it's like, bang, bang, you know. But yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You know, I mean, this is one of those. It feels like the Suns just weren't necessarily ready for the emotional third quarter. And at the same time, somebody brought it up in the chat. Pedro brought up in the chat that you also had JaVale McGee get in foul trouble. He played 1 minute and 11 seconds, and then boom, got hit with his 5th foul. So you had 10 minutes and 49 seconds of DeAndre Ayton in that third quarter. And that's not to say he had a bad third quarter. You know, he went 3 for 5 and had 6 points, but that's when his guard kind of was down a little bit defensively, and it allowed Portland to not only execute on the interior, but because they were doing that, they could kick it out to the wide open 3-point shooters, Tony Snell, Robert Covington. They were hitting their shots. And I'm not overly worried about what I saw. I'm not going to sit here and complain about, man, the Suns were up by 14 and then they were down by 1 in that. Because, I mean, the Suns came out in the third quarter on a 10-0 run. I mean, they came right out, and then it just everything kind of fell apart pretty much when McGee, got into foul trouble. So, but again, when you have the likes of Chris Paul, you're always in a game because of how cerebral he is. And I feel sometimes like a broken record when I talk about this, but I just want to make sure that I personally am appreciating what I see every night from him. And you really saw it in the fourth quarter. I mean, you saw that the Portland Trailblazers, because there's no Devin Booker out there, they were blitzing CP3. And normally when that happens with CP3, he'll do a couple different things. One, if Devin Booker's on the court, he just gets the ball to Booker, and that stops the blitzes instantly. They'll try it for a possession or two, and it's gone because it's like, hey, Booker will beat you. But what he did tonight a couple times, one, he did the rip-through move, his patented rip-through move in an effort to get to the free throw line. And two, he was just getting rid of the ball so quick. And probably the best pass of the game is where I think it was Jay Crowder or Cam Johnson. One of the two were on the perimeter. And he jumped up and was looking at him. And then he just hit a cutting DA for, he didn't dunk it, but it was like a nice little layup. And it was like Patrick Mahomes. Let's watch it 50 times in a row. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, man. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was like when you watch football and the flea flicker happens. It's like, oh my god, the cameraman can't like control stuff. He's like, where did the ball go? And that's the way it was with me watching that pass, because I automatically was going to Cameron Johnson. And it's funny, you were talking about just like all the passes he had. There's so many of them that were just, they were unreal. It was just, I couldn't even like type as fast as he was throwing them to his players, because to keep up with what he's trying to do for the defense, for the Blazers or any team, I couldn't imagine, because it just seems like he has something different every game, and he has a new way to find somebody else at the end of every game. And it's impossible to stop, man. And he is the guy. He's like, I'm not going to lose this game. Like in the past with the Suns, it's like, if we have that momentum shift and we tried our best, we'll probably call it a night. And that's the way they used to be. A lot of teams are that way. Chris Paul is never that way. It's just insane to have that, because we win so many games this year from that, just the extra effort to continue to try to push the pedal. And he does it offensively and defensively. He'll even get the rebounds. He'll get to the line, and like you said, with the rip through, but also he was getting to the paint tonight more than I think a lot this season. He found out, and I think the Suns did obviously earlier in the game against the Portland Trail Blazers, that you can get to the line, you can get to the rim easily against them, and Chris Paul was doing that too. And you never see that from him. But once he knows like what the weakness is, he'll attack it. And defensively, grabbing the steals, getting the timeout. He's just underneath the basket, grabbing a rebound when it's important. So he's just always everywhere in the last 5 minutes. He's just unstoppable, man.
Yeah, and it's like having the ultimate closer who just comes in and it's like having Mariano Rivera. It's what it feels like. You're just having that guy who comes in and you're instilled with so much confidence. Now, granted, like because we're playing against the Portland Trailblazers, because we're playing against Dame Lillard, who's one of those guys who is just a highlight making machine. And he went for his highlights tonight. He just didn't hit him. As I mentioned earlier, he had that 30-foot 3-pointer in overtime that, everybody just would have creamed themselves over, but he missed it. Whereas, again, Chris Paul just kind of slow and steady wins the race, and ultimately that's what allowed the Suns to beat the Blazers by 4. I can't believe we've gone this far in the podcast, and no one's told me that the banner on the bottom says Blazer, not Blazers. Jeez.
Oopsie.
There we go. Let's fix that. Oh, man, that's going to drive me crazy. Let's talk about those Blazers for a little bit before we hand out the jam star of the game, give out the hardware, if you will. We're always hearing about moving Dame, right? And it was kind of fortified once again this week that Dame Lillard's going nowhere. And I'm one of those people who is a big fan of just like, stop talking about that, because I know what that feels like because of Devin Booker, right? Like, Stephen A. Smith, Devin Booker to New York. Like, Devin Booker's never said anything about want to leave. Neither has Dame Lillard, right? Like, why are there always these rumors about this guy?
It does suck. I mean, I would like to see something happen to where he's surrounded by better players in Portland because I think he should always be a Portland Trail Blazer. But if he were to be traded, it would be so weird, right? On another team, I would like that too. But I would never say, hey, I never wanted him to leave. But even last pod in the preview, we were talking about, I'm just sick of seeing the same freaking team. We didn't even know McCollum was out this game either. So that's how crazy like this NBA season is, where the injuries
Yeah.
are piling up, COVID, all that crap. But I just think that
literally
you
all
need
that
to,
crap from DA.
all that crap. Well, now it's all gone, all flushed down
Yeah.
in the pipes in Phoenix somewhere. So if someone can go scoop it up, I'm sure it's worth some money.
A little bit. But why
anyways,
do they
go
never,
ahead, John.
but why do they never talk about trading CJ McCollum? Because like even Sunsky,
They do.
Shout out to
Everyone
Sunsky.
does.
Yeah, no, I don't hear it like Dame.
Bill Simmons does every year.
I know, but that's Bill Simmons. That's not ESPN. That's not the clickbait bullshit. You always hear about Dame.
Oh, because he's not a star. He's not a superstar. CJ.
But Sunsgeek's got it right in the chat. He says, keep Dame, trade everyone else. And I really think that like CJ McCollum trades need to not only be talked about more, but actually execute. And I know Bill Simmons, he's literally had CJ McCollum on his podcast and said, hey man, sorry, but I try to trade you every year in my fake trades, kind of scenarios, but that team and that talent that Dame Lillard is, again, this is, I think you and I both share an affinity for the Portland Trail Blazers. They're a team that's never really hurt our feelings. Therefore, like we don't hate them like we do the Lakers or the Spurs or even the Mavericks. We always kind of root for the Blazers unless we're playing against them. And it's just, it pisses me off when I see that team and I'm like, dude, why can't you guys get it right with Dame?
No, yeah, no, I don't know. If there's something they can do, that I'm sure they would have done it. But then also, why can't you just have fun and just play in Portland and just enjoy your career there? And who cares about championship? You still get dumped on if you win a championship. If you win 3 of them, Kevin Durant wins 3 of them. He's still getting shit on all the time. So does it even matter? He gets a superstar there and wins it, and no one cares. They move on. So as long as he's happy, 3? It's fine. Yeah, he won 3.
Won 2.
He won 2 with Golden State, and then he won 1. Did he only win 2 with Golden State?
Correct.
My bad.
They won the first one, and then he came, and then they won the second one, the third one. Yeah, but I get what we're saying. Like even when you win, it doesn't matter in the NBA. It
doesn't. To please the media, I mean, just to shut them up. I don't understand this. So I think Dame should just stay, and if he's happy, as long as he's happy, that's all that matters, man.
It's true, man. It's true. Happiness is a choice. Here's the stat that kind of caught me off guard tonight, and I didn't realize this. The Blazers are 1-11 on the road. Yikes, dude.
This year, yeah.
Yeah, 1-11 on the road. That's just like, wow,
that's not good team chemistry at all.
No, well, I mean, it's the exact opposite for the Arizona Cardinals. They can win on the road, they can't win at home. So, Cardinals.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters. I mean, I already told you who my Jam Star of the game is, but I'd like to hear who your Jam Star of the game is in the chat live here on YouTube. So go ahead, put in the chat. We'll pull it up. Matthew, are you giving your Jam Star of the game to DA just like I did?
I'm going to give it to him and Chris Paul, and I'm sure that's one of the drops that's super loud and really annoying, because every time that comes up for me, it's super loud and really annoying, so I'm sure that's what they're talking about for the volume on that one.
Yeah, I'll bring that down a little bit.
That's funny. I just now noticed. I don't know how I just now noticed. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to give it to DA and CP3 for sure. They were just, it's pretty awesome for DA to come back and then them just start trying to find each other. Like it was like a romance, in the hills. Like they were just running up and down the hill with each other, and I don't know what movie that's from, but let's just move on to John.
Let's go Sound of Music. The hills are alive and such. So,
okay.
A lot of people are giving to both DA and CP3. Shout out to CP3 on his final stat line. He ended with a total of 24 points, 14 assists, 10 of 19 from the field, 3 from 4 from the free throw line, and hit that 1 3-pointer. And shout out to So Says Jay. He tweeted this out. He says that first quarter was the 89th time in Chris Paul's career where he's had at least 7 assists in a quarter. Like that's how he started the game. And we've talked about this so much about how what makes this team so great is the different roles and the way that people fall into those roles, especially when Devin Booker's healthy. Devin Booker's role is I'm going to start off this team, or I'm going to get us jump started offensively. I'm going to pour some points in the first quarter, to the point where during our winning streak, I think he was like 4th in the league in first quarter points, averaging like 11 or 12 a game. You have DA, who's like, I'm just going to kind of control the boards, and if CP3 wants to find me, he'll find me. But CP3's role in the first quarter is I'm going to get everyone else involved. I'm just going to be dishing the ball and just trying to get everyone else involved. And then when that fourth quarter comes, then CP3 is like, all right, it's time for me to get surgical. I've already racked up the 14 assists. Now it's time to put the points to bed. Yeah. And again, that's what he did again tonight. So I think that I give it to Ayton just because he was consistent all day long. But I mean, CP3, that's not a wrong answer either. So Ted Lubin in the chat, he says, when is Book coming back? That's a good question. What are your thoughts on when Book is coming back? Any inside information that you've heard from the team, Matthew?
No, nothing. I was
Me
texting
neither.
Kendall,
they never call me.
I didn't. She never talks about him when we talk, so I have no idea.
That's rude to her.
I know. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. God, that's so gross. Why would I ever say that? God, I love their relationship. I think he'll probably just come back whenever. Does it fucking matter, dude? I'm just kidding. It does matter.
They're 4-2 without him now.
I know, but it just sucks. 2 losses. You never want to lose that many games, right? In 6 games, that's not the Suns thing anymore. I want Booker to be back just as much as anybody, but honestly, if we can just pull these games out until he gets back and like 100%, then I'm fine. But there's really no ETA, right?
No, and my thought and reading a lot of Suns Twitter, it really sounded like he was going to be back on the 19th. That's what a few of my, the people I follow on Suns Twitter who I kind of hold in high regard, they were saying, it's probably going to be the 19th. And I forget who we're playing again on the 19th. I think it might be the Lakers. But we know that he's going to be healthy for Christmas. That's for sure. Christmas Day against the Golden State Warriors, like he will be back by then. That's 11 days from now. So, again, if this team is winning basketball games at a 66% clip so far with him gone, and he's getting more rest, short-term greed, long-term greed. The short-term greed is you want him back right now. The long-term greed is you want him back so he's healthy for the long haul of this season. So it'll be interesting to see when he does come back. But I've texted the Suns, I've emailed them, and all they try to do is get me to sign up to go on 6-man tours and shit, and I'm like, dude, I'm out of town all the time. I don't have the time. Just tell me when Booker's going to be back. Just email me back and active. They're like, here's a sales agent. His name is Jim. His breath stinks. Would you like to go on a tour with him? So
you might still right there.
So next up for the Phoenix Suns, they're playing the Wizards. That's on Thursday evening, correct, Matthew?
Yes, it is.
All right, so Thursday
I don't know
evening,
what time, probably 7 o'clock, but yeah.
No, I think it's 7 o'clock your time because it says 6 o'clock on my computer, and I'll be on the Western time zone. So, we're playing the Wizards, a team that started off the season really hot, and then has really kind of come back down to earth. I remember we were having a podcast about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're talking about the Eastern Conference. And at the time, the Washington Wizards were the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. And I was like, Matthew, do you know who the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference is? And you were shocked that it was the Wizards. I was shocked that it was the Wizards. And since that time, they've lost 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they've won 1, 2. They've gone 5-10 since we made those comments.
No, I think
they were like 13-3 or something, and like now they're 15-13. Sorry, Wizards.
Yeah, sorry. I think it was more the Bill Simmons pod. I think he had one with Joe House.
Joe House.
They were going off, and ever since then, it's the same thing.
Yep.
What do I know about this team? Absolutely nothing, of course. So I'm sorry. I have no insight on this one, man. This one coming up.
Well, I'll tell you what
you're
I'm
asking.
No, I was just making statements. I didn't expect you to know shit. That's
Okay, good.
Why would I? You don't know anything about the Eastern Conference. You've told me that before. But I have a basketball reference page up in front of me, so I can tell you what to look forward to. Obviously, Bradley Beal leading the team. He's only got 22.4 points. Here's what's interesting about the Wizards this year is Bradley Beal is trying to learn to play within an offense rather than be the offense. Because Bradley Beal was fighting with Steph Curry last year to be the scoring champion, right? And this year, they have a much more balanced attack. He's scoring 22.4 points per game. Then it's Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench at 14.7. You got Kyle Kuzma, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope all in double figures. So it's a team in every aspect of the word, team. And that's why I think they really started out very well. is they just kind of caught a lot of teams by storm. I also think the other challenge that this team obviously has when you start to name off players like that is, you look at their defensive rating, they're 19th in the NBA, and they give up 107.6 points per game, which is 17th in the NBA. So they're not really a defensive team, which is kind of par for the course, I guess, when it comes to the Wizards. They're a team that's in the past has really been, it's a slugfest. And I know that the Suns have had some good slugfests with them. And I feel like the Wizards typically come out on top. But as they've been learning who they are and as defenses around the NBA, after that initial punch that they threw out there, they're like, bam, we're 10-3. Everybody's like started to watch the film and try to figure out how to attack them. And now their points per game has gone down. They average only 105.8, which is 24th in the league. And again, this is a team that's like a top 5 offense in the league last year, man. You're on mute again, man.
So I have had a cough and
I've been watching it.
I got the sniffles
sniffling and coughing over there.
Yeah, I actually let one sniff go, so I
heard it.
apologize if it was too loud.
We're going to edit that out.
Yeah. Anyways, it doesn't even matter. I was gonna say the Suns, when they started out hot, you worried about, are they gonna last this year with that? Yeah, they are, because they're a really good team. The Wizards are a team where, like the Suns in the past, might start out like 10-6 or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's not gonna last. Yep, you would believe it because they're a sucky team and they have to improve, and there's too many questions going around the whole organization. So, yeah, that's basically what happened to the Wizards.
A W for the Suns, right?
Yes, that's a W. We didn't even say a W or an L last time, did we?
No,
we just didn't know.
We didn't know because we didn't know who was playing, and I think
Twilight Zone night. Yeah,
it's that's the NBA right now. We talked about it last night, man, but it's the Twilight Zone out there. I mean, notifications nonstop relative to the NFL, to the NBA, everything. You don't know who's going to play on one night. So, but this one, I definitely feel like it's going to be a good old fashioned win for the Phoenix Suns. Before we get out of here, Matthew, because again, we never get to talk to each other anymore. I don't get to see you at family gatherings because I'm on the road and such. You go to Schnapp Farms to catch a cold. I'm in Reno in a hotel room bored.
Yeah.
So you and I are both in 4 different fantasy football leagues, right? Together.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How many did you make the playoffs?
2.
Which ones?
I almost made 3. So I made it. I don't remember the banquet league.
Okay.
And then also
that's the one you won last year, right?
Yeah. And then the one where it's like the double flex. That's my best team. That's the one that I think I can win it all. Yeah, the keeper one.
The keeper league. Okay. Just for shits and giggles, tell the Jams. Well, I made it in all 4.
You made it in all 4?
All
wow,
4.
Good job,
and I have a bye in 2 of them because I'm a top 2 seed in 2 of them.
Dude, you're so good.
What are your team names?
All of them?
Yeah, let's just run through
them. Because they make no sense.
Yeah, they're funny.
Jamsters, if there's any Tim and Eric fans out there, you guys will know this, which I doubt you guys watch Tim and Eric. Who knows? Let me know, Jamsters, who watch Tim and Eric. One of them's Beef Boys. One of them's Bathroom Boys. The other one's Who Fouted, like Dan Fouts. Like Who Fouted. And then the other one is, dude, what's the other one?
It's my league, isn't it?
Yeah, what is the one in there? Because I haven't.
Yours is like Just Win Baby.
Yeah, I changed
because you're last
though.
in the league.
Yeah, I didn't win a game till like week 10. So yeah.
I think you have the number 1 pick in the draft next year in that one. I am FAHQ, FAHQ, the Lead Farmers, the Dak side instead of the dark side because I have Dak Prescott, and the Empire Strikes Dak because I have Dak Prescott again.
Can I just talk about Dak really quick and how I really think his game is just he's gonna cost us the Super Bowl. This team was so good this year. He is
bad,
just
man.
He cannot throw it more than 5 yards again, and he's just so frantic. The look in his eye, the panic he has every possession. It's just I can't even watch them right now because I know he's never fucking up.
He's never set when he throws the ball. You notice that? He's always like kind of, instead of being like square and then throwing it, he's like sideways and like jumping off one foot. Trust me, I notice it because I have him in every freaking league I have.
Dude, he's driving me nuts, man. He's the one thing that's going to hold us back, but we'll see if he turns it around.
So the Dak side, which is the banquet league, okay? I play you in fantasy this week in the playoffs. We're both 8-6, so
you're gonna win.
To you, buddy.
You're gonna win.
See.
That's
yeah,
Derrick Henry.
I
had Derrick Henry that carried my team.
Well, we'll see. So, but we'll talk about that another time. I haven't seen you, so Oh, here's what's funny. So says Jay says not everyone is perfect like Justin Herbert. Matthew, do you listen to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show?
Not anymore. I did.
Okay.
Why?
So here's a fun fact. So on their waiver show, they talk. If they have this thing, whatever. I don't want to go into it. So you have Justin Herbert and Justin Fields playing quarterback in the NFL right now. Prior to this season, how many quarterbacks in the history of the NFL were named Justin? Who started a game? 0.
Okay.
I just thought that was interesting. I thought Justin was a common name. So
okay.
But I will say, so says Jay, I do have Justin Herbert in one of my leagues. So
is he actually doing good though for fantasy?
Dude,
Where's
he
at?
Killed it last week. Josh Allen and Justin Herbert like number 1 and number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been doing.
I'm thinking of Josh Allen. My bad. Justin Herbert. Yeah, of course.
Sorry, I have Josh Allen and Justin Herbert.
Where's Josh Allen at? He's
number 2 and Justin Herbert's number 3. There you go. That's why I'm a 1 seed in that league, because it's a double quarterback league. All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for hanging out and watching us on the Suns Jam Session podcast. Sorry for the fantasy football deviation at the end, but again, I never get to talk to Matthew unless it's on this podcast. So you're all just part of the experience. Thanks for coming along. A cheap plug here. I think I'm going to be on with the Fan and the Flame guys tomorrow. So their podcast will be
very
coming
cool.
out the next day. So I'll be on that show. And I'll let Daniel Duarte tell me how I'm a piece of shit because I'm a Dodgers fan and stuff. It'll be really exciting, exciting listen for everybody. But remember, everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew on Twitter
at Matthew Lissy. And
you can follow the show on Twitter at Suns Jam. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Hit the thumbs up button. Do all that fun stuff. We'll see you again Thursday night after the Suns take on the Washington Wizards. Until then, have a fantastic evening and stay warm out there.
Yeah, go home and love your family.
Take care, everybody.